Boo!
Nice.
Oh, yeah. Everybody almost got to meet Miley there for a second. We just went live and she walked in the room and then poof, she's gone.
She does exist, right? You're not making her up.
We don't talk about that. Moving on. Now you'll never know.
Oh, good answer. Good answer.
Holy crap in a bucket. It was a beautiful day today painting a deck. I am burnt to a crisp and I love it. The vitamin D, I'm absorbing it. I smell like bacon. But
It's
all right, I missed the intro. Hey, what's up, Ellie? You don't want to miss that intro. We should play that again at the end, just because it's so damn good.
Rock and roll, man. Works for me.
What's that?
You do look a little red.
Yes, I am
Red and skinny.
Well, no, you're just trying to earn points now. I love you already, brother. How are you doing?
I'm good. Work's awesome. Work is awesome. It's, the way we do our schedules is we try to front load the month as much as possible to leave kind of the last week to 10 days for any emergencies that pop up so that our schedules are flexible. So the last week of the month is usually chill. So throw Memorial Day on top of that. And, it's just been an easy week. The weather is gorgeous. Like we're in the mid 50s in the evenings, like at night. So I've got the windows open, gets up to like 83 during the day, 85, pool weather, gorgeous. Love it. But yeah, everything's going good. How about you?
Yeah, that's what it's like in Michigan right now too. It's like nice, cool nights. It was like 78 or something like that today, maybe a little less. But beautiful, clear sky. So this is just perfect weather right now.
So, I was under this mistaken impression that Michigan was in the central time zone. So I was thinking about this and all the jokes that we've made over the last year with Lindsay and time. I was legitimately thinking that we were all jacked up because you were in central time.
No, I think we're all in the same one.
But if you look at the time zone map, it doesn't make any damn sense because Georgia and Alabama is the split between East and Central. Now, if you take that line and go straight up, you should be in Central, but it does a curve.
It's got to be the curvature of the Earth.
I guess so.
It's got to be that. I that's my only guess. But there are some out there that say the Earth's flat, and we could talk about that on the next tinfoil Tuesday.
Next time we do a tinfoil one, we should talk about that because if the Earth is flat, then what the fuck is the point of time zones?
Well, because oh boy, we're gonna get off on a tangent already.
But it wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, the sun. See, the thing is with the flat Earth, and you can't see my hands. I hate it. But the sun will be way out here, and then it'll get a smaller circle. And then when it's out here, it's summertime, and then it comes back in here in a tight circle, and that's wintertime. That's how it's explained.
Huh.
So it would still. Hi, Lonnie. But that's how that's explained.
Yeah. All right. Really, I can tell you know more about that than I do. I know it's sitting on the shell of a giant turtle.
Oh well, that's probably what it is, because you can't get outside the firmament.
Right.
The glass dome. Yeah, we're surrounded by glaciers.
So if we figured out how to get out of it, we can actually go find Middle Earth and the hobbits.
Yes, theoretically, yes. There are plenty of other flat Earths outside of our firmament. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And if you get too close to the glacier wall, they will kill you down on sight. Kill you down. They will shoot you down. They will kill you on sight. Yes. They take the glacier wall very seriously.
That's funny.
Because I mean, if we were on a spinning ball, okay, if I jumped up in the air, why don't I land? Because it's going 1,000 miles an hour. Why don't I land way over yonder? Because it's not spinning, dude. Come on.
It's a good point.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's mind blowing. And there's did you see the Terrence what's his nuts on the Joe Rogan podcast trying to tell everybody?
Now we're talking about how we should change the periodic table back into harmonic frequencies and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And he really sets the whole tone by saying that 1 times 1 is 1 or 2.
I
He
didn't.
really set the yeah. He really set the tone with that conversation by telling us all.
How did
Yep.
he explain that?
You'll have to go listen to it, dude, because I can't. My brain starts to cramp when I try to understand some of the flat Earth stuff, and like he said some interesting things because but he's like he just doesn't understand multiplication. So anyway,
Hey,
yeah. Well, fuck it. I'll just go get the tinfoil now. We're on a roll.
I mean, you might as well. No, we'll wait. We'll wait. Let's do it on Sunday.
Yeah, yeah. We can do that. Do that on Sunday for sure. So there was an interesting tweet by, I'll call her my friend, even though we're not really friends, but she was on the podcast, Judge Mary Beth.
Yep.
She talked about her book, which is from Junkie to Judge or Junkie to Judge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible story. If you haven't listened to that, Lindsay also, our friend Lindsay, also did an interview or two with her. Go listen to that. Mary Beth's story is incredible. And the things she went through and what she got herself out of to become a judge is nothing short of badassery. So, yeah, there we go. So that's kind of what we're going to start out with is a relapse doesn't cause amnesia as to everything you've learned. So you really never go back to day one. Ooh.
Mm.
So this was courtesy of Mary Beth. She posted this the other day. But don't get mad at her. Just get mad at me. I did it. If you want to get mad. If you want to get mad,
yeah,
piss off. But I really think it's interesting and something that it makes a lot of sense to me. Now, you don't really learn a lot if you drink on Friday and you make it to Wednesday and then you drink again. You haven't really learned a lot. I don't think that's what she's saying.
No,
right?
Not at all.
But if you put some time in there, whatever that time may be, because a lot of treatment centers are 28 days, 30 days. So they think that that's a good jump. So one would think with the medical community thinking that 30 days is a good shot in the arm, you can learn some serious things in 30 days. Obviously, the longer you go, the more you're going to learn.
Absolutely.
So I completely agree that if you are somebody that has put yourself in treatment, or you've been going to whatever meetings you like, or you've been going to therapy and working on your mental health, and you put some sobriety time in, you learn all these things, and you have a bad day, there's no reason to kick yourself while you're down and restart this day count. I don't even believe that. I don't even think you should count anymore, but that's just me. Maybe for the first 30 days. I don't know. But what do you think, Adam? I'm blabbing.
No, I agree with you completely. I don't know. I feel like maybe trying to get to a year is a good milestone to shoot for and achieve. Once you get that, if you want to keep counting, keep counting. But back to your point, there's to me, if you say you've got 30, 60, 90 days in and you do fall off the wagon and relapse, the traditional way of looking at it is that you didn't work hard enough to keep yourself sober. I kind of have this theory that maybe it's not that you didn't work hard enough to keep yourself sober, is that maybe you discovered another area that you need to heal that you didn't know existed up until that point. And that's what you stumbled over. And the learning occurs in processing whatever that was and integrating that into who you are so that you don't stumble over that again. So if we look at it from a healing our emotional past standpoint, that's a lifelong journey. And so all the big things that you used to drink over, you might have healed, you might have taken care of, you might have processed and integrated, and they're no longer there. But then something trips you up completely out of left field. And the traditional way of looking at it is to say, hey, you should have seen that coming. As soon as you had these bad thoughts, you should have been calling somebody, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, when it comes so far out of left field that you get completely blindsided, What are you supposed to do? How does that happen? Or how do you handle that? I guess is what I'm trying to say. So
Yeah, this is a constant learning experience, and and if you're somebody that's been using a substance for half your life, like me, 20 years on it and 20 years not on it, but the most recent 20 years is the one on it. Like, there's a lot of things that I didn't learn how to cope with. There's a lot of things like engaging people and all these feelings, and science tells us that depending on your drinking and your biology, that it takes 6 months to 2 years for your brain to flip around,
yep.
and the fog to go away and rewire itself. So you're dealing with all kinds of things. I don't see the advantage or the usefulness to. Well, I was sober for a year. I just went out because of XYZ, back to square one, starting all over. I completely fucked up. I didn't do anything right. That's bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. So to me, the way that, not the steps, but the way that the program is handled in the rooms and the way it's talked about as far as the sponsor and everything, to me, that is craving management. That's not necessarily emotional healing. All right. So what we're doing is we're still trying to fight alcohol on its own playing field, in my opinion. That's to me the way I look at AA. I'll pull one out of here from a long time ago. So if anybody's ever heard of Sun Tzu, one of his big quotes is "Fight the enemy where they aren't." And the only way that you're going to fight alcoholism is to not fight it on its own battlefield. You're going to have to go through and find the issues that are causing you to run and fix those. And then you don't have to worry about the alcohol. So the entire step system for me is fighting alcohol on its field. It's got home court advantage and you're trying to win. Bring it to your own home court.
And that's good enough for me, folks. Have a great night. That was well said. I will see you on the next one. Yeah, it is craving management. I think that's a great way to say it. And that's okay. And it works. It does work in the beginning. It kicked ass for me for, I don't know, year and a half. And then all of a sudden I was like, well, my life still sucks. I still hate myself. And it wasn't doing anything for any of that stuff.
Yeah.
It was giving me people to talk to and relate to. It was giving me a fellowship. It was giving me people to pick me up. It was giving me people that understood. And those are all good things, but it wasn't fixing the problem. It wasn't. I mean, if there's not a meeting to go to, and if there's not a phone to dial or somebody answering on the other end, I want to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Right. And me personally, I'm not going to rely on another alcoholic for that necessarily. Maybe at times, but not consistently.
Yeah.
And me personally, I'm certainly not going to rely on a higher power because that doesn't work for me. So, and it doesn't work for a lot of people. That to me is like praying that something's going to happen that is just going to make it better right now, like hoping.
So this is a fun debate to have with people. You have to either really love the person and understand that you're going to get mad at each other and forgive each other, or you just really don't care about the other person because you're going to get mad at each other. And then you can just walk away. But have the debate of what's the difference between willpower and faith. If you have to, like, if you're doing something on willpower alone and somebody else is doing something on faith alone, what is the real difference there?
I just wish people would respond to that because I think that's a great question.
So I'll tell you my answer to that question is, one is a belief in something that can't be explained to anyone else. It's your own personal belief that your willpower is going to be strong enough to accomplish whatever you want. That, to me, that is what faith is. And then willpower is just willpower. So they're both really willpower. Now, I know this is going to piss off a lot of religious people. I don't really care. I mean, I don't want you to be mad, but I don't care that my opinion is contrary to yours. That's one of my favorite quotes is like, my beliefs don't require that you believe what I believe. So, but again, like I said, it's one of those questions. Like if you really want to get into a deep philosophical debate, you either got to know the person really well, love them, and understand that you're going to piss each other off and hug up and make up at the end of it, or you don't care about the other person, you can walk away.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
something to talk about.
No, it absolutely is something to talk about. And, you know, one of the first thoughts that came to me when you were talking about that, when you come to the faith part, you know, I had faith that alcohol was going to take care of my business for me, like help me get through that. I had that faith in alcohol. And you know what? It came through for me every time.
It worked for quite a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. It did what it needed to do. And then, and I've talked about this many times, then I demanded more from it and it couldn't do anything else for me. So it was just trying to tap me out. But yeah, and again, this is just me. I know that AA worked for a lot of people. I know that faith, you know, whatever that may be, Christianity, Muslim, Jewish, whatever, works for a lot of people. I can't put my marbles in that basket, and I need to do this for me. That's what I found out. Like nobody or nothing is going to come save me. I need to be willing to do the work and dig out of this hole myself.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. There was one other point I wanted to make, and I'm sitting here racking my brain trying to reread this, and you said something, and I cannot remember what it was. It was along the lines, I completely agree. I don't think she's using this as, you know, I don't think she's saying this for someone to use as an excuse to be like, oh, you know what? No, I still remember, you know, everything I learned, just like you said, in those 5 days that I wasn't drinking. I think one of the arguments against this type of belief is, oh, well, that's just an excuse to go out and relapse. No, it's not. Because if that is your immediate thought against this type of belief, then you probably need to re-examine your own sobriety. Because if this right here, this statement, relapse doesn't cause amnesia as to everything you've learned, so you never really go back to day one. If you think that that kind of thinking is an excuse to go out and relapse, then you should really look at what your own internal subconscious thoughts are. Because your first reaction was, well, that's an excuse to go relapse. Your brain, your subconscious doesn't work in negatives. It's not sitting here going and saying, hey, you know what? Somebody else might think that's an excuse to relapse, or that I would never do that. That's an excuse to relapse. Your first thought was excuse to relapse, not an excuse to relapse. So anyway, it was something along those lines. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah, let's see. Lonnie says, I think it takes willpower to do everything, to get out of bed, etc. Then you have to have faith that it's worth it.
Yeah, I could go with that. I could go with that. So here's funny. Scott, I think I've shared this video with you before. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's talking about different levels of dopamine. And he's talking part of the video, he talks about giving heroin addicts, you know, opiate addicts, Suboxone or something to get their dopamine levels up to a level where they will get out of bed to go to treatment. So we know that it takes, I think it's like 20, I don't know, I think decigrams per liter, some crazy goofball number like that. We know the amount of dopamine it takes for you to feel like, you know what, it's worth it for me to get out of bed. Dopamine is a motivating factor. It's a motivating neurotransmitter. But you're not going to do much more than get out of bed. So that's just line that just reminds me, it takes willpower. It takes dopamine to do that as well. And if you are neurochemically compromised to where you put something in your body like alcohol, drugs, sugar, whatever, caffeine, that it spikes that dopamine so high, now you're willing to do anything as long as you keep the dopamine coming in. So
yeah, that it's crazy, the effects of like, and I barely know anything, but knowing that dopamine hit, you know, we were talking before we went live about, I've been working out and going down there, and I work out, and I'm not even doing that much, but I'm doing more than what I used to. So I'm taking that as a win.
Yeah.
But when your arms feel all tight and swollen, you know, and you're like, you get this boost of energy, that's like, those are all the positive receptors. Like, I go down there and I do the first rep and like, oh, my shoulder, my elbow, oh God, this sucks. And I get done with it. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm on like the third rep and I'm like, holy shit. Yeah, this is getting easier. This is feeling better. You know, and those are all these things, these chemicals, all kinds of, the body's amazing things. It does amazing things. And when you just do these, what's that?
Sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Thought you were stopped.
No, you're good.
I'm going to throw in, I found the video that I was talking about. And by the way, all this stuff's under Scott's name because I'm not logged into his account.
Oh. Well, yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, so you just posted the link on there. I did post, Adam, I post quote, what's the difference between faith and willpower? And I tagged you in it on X.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And so at Feline Sexy says, you can't ask for God's help if you are not willing to put one foot in front of the other and help him help you.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I get that. Sure. I get that completely. Now, here's the thing with statements like that. And again, not knocking on religion at all, but you can easily reread that and say, let's see, you can't ask for God's help if you're not willing to put one foot in front of the other and help him help you. You can say, you can't ask for anyone's help. You know, if you're not willing to do the work. So I don't know that really applies to faith.
I am such a proponent of people giving themselves credit for doing shit. If you got up out of bed and put one foot in front of the other, you did that. You did. You know how many people came into my office this week to sign up? The one kid was 19 years old, came in, been talking to his mom for almost a year, trying to get him through the doors. He's 19, he's been through hell. I can't say any more than that. But looking at this kid, you wouldn't think it. You know, when he looks at you and then he smiles, you're like, wow, this is a normal young lad here. And then, you know, you're going through the process of getting him signed up. You're like, all these things, these bad things are happening. Yeah, shit. Windows open. You walk through the door today, you're filling out this paperwork and you're committing to help yourself to fix these issues that you had. Yeah. Had a dude in his 60s come in. Eerie stories between the two of us. Everything bad's happening to him at 60. Everything that bad happened to me happened already, but he's going through the same stuff. He's going through divorce. He's losing everything. He's in a facility for physical therapy, and this dude is just he's going through divorce. He's going to lose everything. His kids won't talk to him. And I said, everything is doomsday right now, and that's what it feels like. But again, you're here and you're willing to make a change. I can tell you from experience, my friend, a year from now, things can change.
Absolutely.
And he walked through that door and got the ball rolling. And so many times, and I think it's kind of implied this way when you fuck up in some programs out there that you done fucked up and you didn't do it right. When in actuality, you're just learning. You're going through the homework phase. I posted that earlier. Like you're doing the research. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. We need to give ourselves some credit. It's great to have faith. It's great to have religion. I've said this to Miley many times. I wish I could believe. Like, and I've said this before in the podcast. Like, there's so many things. Like, I'm Fox Mulder. This poster. I want to believe. I just can't. So right now, it's me, myself, and I taking care of me, myself, and I. And then by me doing that, I'm taking care of everybody else.
Yeah, yeah. You said something just a minute ago about intent, and I don't think the average person understands the power that positive intent has. And I don't just mean like, oh, well, he had good intentions, even though it's still fucked up. No, I mean the intent to make a change in your life. When you truly have intent, excuse me, it changes how you process thoughts. Positive intent is one of the first stepping stones in changing your underlying beliefs, which change your thoughts, which change your feelings and your actions. Because what you're doing is you're telling your subconscious by saying, I intend to do this. And we could take it to the next level and say, you're also telling the universe, I intend to do this, which another maybe tinfoil discussion. But when you tell your subconscious that you intend to do something, your subconscious takes that as we are going to do something. And what's even better is if you can then mentally rehearse what you intend to do. Your brain does not know the difference between reality and imagination. Now, this is not something that I'm pulling out of the mystical voodoo hat. This is legit science, all right? Your brain does not know the difference between what you mentally rehearse and what reality actually is. So if you put positive intention into changing your behaviors and you mentally rehearse these behaviors that you want to change, you can get thousands and thousands of reps in the course of a week of this new behavior that to your brain, you have actually done in real life. And I cannot overemphasize that enough. It's how we teach flight training to people in the Air Force, because I did it. They call it chair flying. Literally sit in your office chair, close your eyes, imagine you're in the cockpit, run through your checklist, hit every knob switch, check all your controls, and they tell you, I want you to spend 3 hours chair flying before you come back down to the flight line tomorrow. And they're going to ask you, like, hey, how much chair flying did you do yesterday? You better tell them the right answer, because they know when you're not doing it, when you're not rehearsing in your head, and then all of a sudden you get in the cockpit and they're like, all right, I need you to turn the radio to whatever frequency. And you're like, oh, yeah, it's this one. They're like, all right, get out of it. Get out, go back and practice. So I use the exact same techniques when I was trying to get sober, like for real the first time. But just imagine myself going past the liquor stores, not walking in, all sorts of stuff, saying no to drinks being offered. And it makes a tremendous amount of difference.
I was doing this exact same thing for this past month when I started doing my fasting. I would lay in bed and be like, I'm not drinking tomorrow. Or I'm not drinking, but I'm not eating, I'm not taking any calories tomorrow. I'm going to do, and it started out like, I'm not going to do that. And then, so it went 12 hours and 14 and then 16. And then I was able to do 18. And then all of a sudden I went 24, 22, 24, like back to back to back days. But I had this conversation with myself before I went to sleep. Mm-hmm. And those are the days that I do the best. And the days I come in here and I'm worrying about work or other things like that, those next days are the days that I fail. Yeah. So, again, this sounds silly, just like journaling and all these other things. It sounds silly, but I think Adam brings up a good point. Think of it this way. If you think it's silly to think that your brain doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination, what happens when you have a bad dream? What happens when you have a good dream?
Very good point.
You know what I mean? Your body and everything believes that is what's happening. And then you wake up and oh my God. Well, you weren't in that tornado. You weren't banging Pamela Anderson, even though that's a gross thing to say these days. That's a shout out to my teens. But I'm just saying, you're not really doing these things, but it certainly feels like it. And you wake up and you're like, holy crap, And I'll tell you something else that's kind of weird. If you go to bed with the intent and start telling yourself that you're going to remember your dreams, that helps you do that too.
Absolutely does.
It won't be perfect, but I've gotten pretty good at it at times where I can wake up and I know they say that you're not dreaming all the time. You don't remember everything, but I can remember more dreams than, I remember the meat and potatoes of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a fun rabbit hole to go down, talking about lucid dreaming and stuff.
Yeah. I would love to do that one time.
I'll have to find the book. I haven't read it. I've just heard people talk about it, but there's almost a protocol you can follow to practically guarantee that you will lucid dream. And it takes like 30 days of training yourself with some dream journaling and some few other little techniques that you can throw in there. But I always thought it was just, crock of shit stuff, but apparently not. It's apparently some legit stuff. So, what else? What else do we say we're going to talk about? It's been good so far.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure what DD says, you want me real answer or do you want to sugarcoat it and backpedal? So I'll go ahead and respond. Hit us with the real stuff.
Tell her we want you to sugarcoat it and then backpedal away.
We want you to sugarcoat it while backpedaling.
There you go. There you go.
I don't know. I had something else come up, but then we started talking about something else. But it'll come back to me. We don't rehearse these things. We don't edit these things. We are as raw and authentic as you can fucking get.
When you have talent like this, you don't have to.
Oh yeah, ego, baby. It's for me when it appears that I have ego on X or social media or whatever. It's it's a rare thing for me to feel like it. You know what I mean? Like it might. Some people probably think it comes across to it, but like I'm still my own worst downer. You know what I mean? Like I'm not doing a podcast tonight because nobody's gonna like it. Nobody pays attention. Even though I could go back and look at all these messages and these emails and things of people that have said that they've got something out of it or they really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I could go back and do that, but I can tell myself all day that it's not worth it.
So I was just having dinner with a friend of mine. She called me up. She's like, I need an unbiased opinion. I was like, oh, I'm biased in all sorts of ways. You sure you want to talk to me? But she's at her work. There's a director position opening up. And she's like, I'm having all these feelings. Like, I know I'm qualified for it, but I feel like I feel like I have some imposter syndrome going on. And so, which is exactly what you just described. And so she talked about it for a few minutes and we decided to go, let's go grab some dinner. So haven't seen her in a long time. She's telling me everything. I said, so let's look at it. Here's the way when you explain this to me, here's how I see it. I'm just going to give you my perspective on it. Uh-oh. Can you hear me? It's giving me the little Wi-Fi thing. You good? Okay.
I can hear you fine. Your image is frozen, but I can hear you fine.
Okay, good.
There you are.
All right. It looks like it's back. But what I told her is that, so what you're telling me is that there's the potential for a really good promotion into a leadership position, which is something that you want. As far as you know, based on the job description and your interaction with other people who also do this same position, you're qualified for it, or, pretty well qualified for it. It's like there's some things that you think you need to work on, but for the most part, you think you're qualified. Yeah. And I said, and applying for this position doesn't mean that if you don't get it, you lose your current position. Well, no. I said, so there's really no downfall to applying for this position. I said, what you're feeling is uncertainty about not getting the position. And I said, the way I see this is your ego saying, we don't know what that position is going to give us, how that's going to make us feel. We don't know where we're going to go in that position, but we know exactly how to act and respond and what we're going to get and how we're going to feel with our current position. So let's just talk ourselves out of going into that, out of our comfort zone. Let's talk ourselves out of going to that position. And she's like, I think that's exactly right. And I said, so remember, and I've said this on here multiple times, so your ego always wants to be right. We use the word ego interchangeably all the time to mean a self-inflated sense of importance. And that's not the best definition. It's when you say somebody has a big ego. The ego is a protection mechanism that has been hardwired into our brains. The ego is making judgments and predicting the future based on our experience in the past and where we currently are. So if we always know that around dusk, the saber-toothed tigers are coming out and we need to head in, that's the ego saying, hey, look, it's time to go in because we know it's safe in there. We know what's going to happen when nightfall comes. So the ego wants to keep you safe. And it thinks that moving into this leadership position is not necessarily safe, not because there's anything inherently dangerous, but because it's unknown. And so when we kind of put it into that context, she's like, that makes a lot of sense. And she's like, so why do I continue to feel like I'm not good enough? I said, that's a completely different topic. So that kind of segued nicely into what I was talking about today with imposter syndrome. And I think a lot of people feel some type of imposter syndrome. I'm interviewing for a position with another company that's going to be a giant leap from what I'm doing currently. And I've had a few thoughts of, am I qualified for this? Am I not? And what struck me when I was having this conversation with her is it dawned on me that my thoughts and feelings were not so much of, is this an unsafe, is this, was my resistance to this possible new job something because it was making me think it's outside my comfort zone, or was it legit concern that I might not be qualified enough? And after looking at it, it was legit concern that I might not be qualified enough. But after the interview I had today, I was like, I'm definitely qualified. So that was nice, nice ego boost. And so I think that's a good way to think about ego as well, is like, hey, we need to boost his ego, is make him realize that the thing that he thinks is going to be uncomfortable is actually going to be exactly what he's looking for. So anyway, that was kind of rambling about all that. I don't know, maybe you got something you can take away from that.
I hope so. That's I've never thought of ego that way.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. Again, when I have these conversations with people, it's not anything that I just sit around thinking about all the time, and I'm journaling about ego and blah blah blah. I'm not Carl Jung by any means, but it just kind of came to me. I was like, this makes sense to me, and so I was like, see what you think, see how this feels. Try it on. This makes sense to what your thought process is, and so yeah, helped her out. So
yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense that my ego wants me to feel warm and fuzzy and comfortable, and so that's getting in the way of trying different things.
Yeah,
that's very interesting.
Yeah. So now it gets confused a lot with the I'm not good enough, I'm not enough beliefs, which I said, like, that can fuel, your ego's, the way you think through your ego, but it's a little bit of a different story compared to, the ego wanting to be right. So, Lonnie, I don't have as much experience in, I shouldn't say experience. I know of Freud just from what I had to study in college. I think he did a lot of groundbreaking work. I think he got stuck on the hypersexualization of everything. So I don't know. I honestly don't know if that's my true opinion or if that's the opinion that the professor gave me. So, I know that his contemporaries were with him for quite a while through his journey and through his career, and then all of a sudden his contemporaries kind of split away. Or like, all right, you're getting a little too crazy for us. And then what he laid the groundwork for transformed into more, I don't want to say correct psychology, but I want to say more, I don't know. I think he laid the groundwork for some really good psychology to actually happen. Yeah, id, ego, and superego. Exactly right. So yeah, when I use the term, when I think of ego, it's hard to talk about ego and these concepts when you want to bring Freud in because of id, ego, and superego, because we like to colloquially clump them kind of all together. And then we use the word in the wrong context all the time. That's why I tend to stay with Jung, with Carl Jung. It's more, I don't know, it's the archetypes and emotional traumas and, shadow work and integration, I think is more, I like it because it's more practical in the sense that it helps people out. Whereas Freud and the id, ego, and superego was more theoretical of how our conscious works. And so he was trying to apply it to help people, but I feel like just based on my limited knowledge of it, that it wasn't the best method for actual therapeutic psychology. So anyway.
Oh, that's good shit. I'm just gonna sit here and listen.
But you somebody that knows way more about psychology come in and just blow everything that I know of it out of the water, which is highly possible. I only took 2 or 3 classes, and then I focused on pretty much, Freud and stuff, or not Freud, on Carl Jung. You're welcome.
So we got another response to what's the difference between faith and willpower. Jennifer says, you don't have to work hard for faith. You just let go. Willpower takes enormous effort.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are the textbook definitions.
Oh, I think faith is acceptance, right? Like things are out of my control. I just have to accept things are, well, maybe that's not faith. That's not faith. That's religious beliefs. That everything is, it is as it is, and that's how it's going to be, which is a whole nother monster to tackle. That's just how I look at it. Like when they talk about acceptance in AA, I think that's just what they're saying, let go and let God. And that's exactly what they mean.
Yeah. So it's the reason I like asking that question is because it's without bringing religion into it. And that's the thing, is it's hard to talk about faith without religion. I have faith that the gravitational constant is going to be the same tomorrow morning when I wake up as it is today.
It's just a word that we've made synonymous with belief, and it's just not,
Exactly. There is a reason why it's called the theory of gravity, not the law of gravity. So
why is that, Adam?
Because we can't prove that it'll go on indefinitely. There are very few laws.
See, that's the thing when we're talking about the flat Earth thing. You know what I mean? Like you hear things like that. Well, it's just a theory, and that's true to the understanding of the word that you're thinking of. But when a scientific theory, that means all the evidence that we have is pointing to this.
We have yet to disprove it.
Right. So
I mean, it can't be disproven. It just means we have yet to disprove it.
Right. So that's another thing right there that you can tuck in your pocket when you go talk to a flat earther. And maybe we got 45 people listening. There's probably a flat earther on here right now. Like, what the fuck? I'll come on here and tell these guys all about it. Know what I mean?
Do it. Bring them on. I got lots of tinfoil.
I would love to start doing that kind of stuff. Honestly, and if you're listening, I know this is a recovery thing, but as Adam and I have talked before, and I'm not going to speak for Adam, but I'm going to speak for myself, that while recovery is super important to me, some would say I'm still in my infant stages because I haven't hit 2 years yet. And by the way, don't let me forget something that happened to me a couple weeks ago that Miley suggested I talk about, so I will.
All
right. I want to talk about other things. Like the Sober Heathen can be a channel that is more than that. And we did that with the tinfoil, and I thought that was pretty good. I'd like to explore more things. And I will tell you why I haven't yet is because the people that have joined the Sober Heathen and listen, these 45 people or whatever, the truth of the matter is I don't want to offend you. I don't want people to be upset. And it's twofold because, and this is going to sound really bad, but Adam kind of said it earlier. On one hand, I don't care because I want to be as authentic as I need to be because I think that's the only way people can believe what I'm putting out there.
Yep.
On the other hand, I don't want to deter somebody if my main problem is somebody is following this channel or following us and listening to us and they're in early recovery. And then I say something and then they're just like, oh, well, they said this thing. So therefore all the things that they've said is crap because I so strongly disagree with this thing. And you know what I got to do, Adam? I got to get the fuck over it because I am not in control of other people's recovery.
Right? That's right.
So you should have an episode on gravity. It's a full mystery. Yeah, we could talk about gravity. I think we're going to I think it's decided we're going to do a flat Earth Maybe I'll take the role of the flat earther and I will challenge Adam to prove me wrong, because you won't be able to, because the earth is flat, and we will talk about that.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I think that's fun. And I wanted to kind of do those kind of role playing things too,
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm going to start saying more things. I'm going to start being more open. But
well, it does apply to recovery, because if your life is nothing but trying to stay sober, then you might as well drink.
Right.
In my opinion.
And that's what we said, isn't it? And I forgot to say that out loud. That's what the point I was making. Like, we say that we want freedom in the end, right? So we have to do shows together or apart that are more than just recovery, because that's not all I want to be about.
Yep. That's right.
And besides, I think it shows a good example. There are other things to be interested in. You don't have to focus on recovery 100% of the time to be in recovery. I know It's shocking to some people.
So how many meetings you go to?
Yeah, exactly. That'll be when was the last time you went to a meeting? A year? Well, then you're not in recovery. Oh, no. Then you must not have been a real alcoholic.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah.
So what happened a week or two ago?
Yeah.
So I kind of told my groups at work this, so that's why because at work, like, I have groups and I'm in this facility. This is a outpatient facility. I say more often than I should in my groups, I probably shouldn't say this, but to remain as authentic with you guys as I possibly can, I'm going to say it anyway.
Yeah, caveat, don't get me fired.
Yeah, well, you know what? If I get fired for being honest and talking to people and being real with people, then I guess they didn't really want a guy they didn't really want me. You know what I mean?
Right.
So what I told them and what happened a couple weeks ago is I decided early in the week, it might have been the weekend before the week, that I was going to drink. I said to myself, I'm going to buy some alcohol this week. And there were just some things going on mentally, all me. And I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to buy it on this day. I'm going to put it in my backpack. I'm going to bring it home, and then I will drink this time. And I don't remember the exact days. But anyway, so the day came when I decided that I was going to buy alcohol, and I got home that night, and I don't remember if it was the first night or second night. But anyway, I was like, oh, shit, I forgot to buy alcohol. And so then I was like, all right, I'm going to do it this day, and I'm going to do it this time. So I went to work. I got home, and one of those nights I was laying in bed. I was like, fuck, I didn't buy the alcohol. Oh, well. And then by then I woke up the next day and I never thought of it. And since then, it's just been like, it's been zero appeal. Like,
yeah.
So that is recovery. And what are you thinking about? Why are you thinking? Because I'm fucking normal. I'm a human. Like, I remember the shit that was fun, and my mind tries to convince me that it's still fun. And it is still fun for a lot of fucking people, but it's not for me. But my mind is going to think this way because that's just what fucking happens. So get off my ass, bitch, because I didn't do it. I forgot. And I told my buddy this on the phone the other day, and he said something, because he's been around me since shit got real. And he's like, well, oh, never mind. I'm not going to say it because I don't want you to hang up and never talk to me again. That's what he said. I was like, come on, dude. He's like,
now you got to.
He's like, I wish. No, that's what he said to me. Like, he's like, he was going to say something to me, and then he's like, and so I was like, yeah, now you got to tell me. He's like, I wish I could believe you. And I was like, ooh. And I think what he was saying was, maybe this was me, like, it reminds him of older me saying all these things of like, I didn't do this today, or I did that.
But not telling the whole truth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, oof, that did kind of sting, but I'm certainly not going to hold that against him for not believing me.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. I forgot to drink.
Yeah.
So if that makes me, in danger, I know some people would love to jump on that bandwagon and be like, oh, you're close to relapse. You're going to.
I hate when that happens, forgetting to drink, damn it.
Yeah, I know. What a great alcoholic I am to finally forget to drink when I decided to.
So I'm sitting here thinking about this because, my framework is beliefs, thoughts, feelings, actions, and subconscious. So I was sitting here thinking about, all right, so he had the thoughts and planned it. So that something was driving that, something caused him to feel that he needed to. He was planning on acting on it, but then forgot. So it's almost like you had two competing beliefs. Like something happened and you had this hiccup of subconscious belief that said, hey, look, everything sucks right now, or whatever. This happened. This will make you feel good. You'll be fine right now. But then at the same time, you store that in the back of your mind. You're like, cool, we're going to do that. But when it came time to actually act on it, your brain didn't store it as like an active memory. So the way I'm seeing this is like, to me, it was just a long-term thought. It wasn't even really, I don't think you ever truly planned to do it. Like, I don't think you ever really intended to act on it, because had you really wanted to, you would have. So to me, it was like, hey, we're going to fix the problem with this. We know it'll work. Cool. Hey, that's a great idea. You know what? We're going to do that. And, I talk about observing thoughts all the time. And as soon as you see one that is troubling, you need to explore it and figure out what's going on. It's like, you didn't really do that, but the thought didn't take hold. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it didn't latch on. You didn't act on it. So it's really interesting.
It is. And it's a God to honest truth. An alcoholic that forgot to drink. So, I mean, I don't know. I know what the problem is. It's a lack of fulfillment. It's monetary. It's probably number one, actually. That's probably one.
Yeah.
And obviously, me going out and drinking again isn't going to be a positive in the wallet. You know what I mean? So that's
a great idea.
Yeah. So it's like, it's one of those things where you got to work through it, because you don't want to feel. I don't want to worry about the wallet. I don't want to worry about not feeling fulfilled, or where I'm at in my life, where my ego or whatever tells me where I think I should be.
Exactly.
I don't want to think about it for a minute. And you know what the best thing for me right now, going through this slump, that's why there hasn't been podcasts. I mean, that's the truth. It's been a struggle. It's because my go-to to get through this is sleep. And I'm telling you right now, even being where I'm at, I go to bed at 8:30 some nights. I kiss Smiley goodnight. She's like, going to bed already? Yeah, I'm tired. Okay. And she never fights me on it, because I think she knows what I'm doing. And I come in here and I wake up the next morning and I might have well, fuck, I got to go to work today. But I feel 10 times better than I did the night before when I went to sleep. It's a reset. So, and I'll tell you this, even me going to bed at like 8:30 at night, I'm still sleeping less than I was when I was fucking drunk and hungover. So it's a net positive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and now don't forget to factor in the amount of physical activity too.
Sure.
What you're doing from working out standpoint is completely, I mean, your body's going, what the fuck are we doing? So, I mean, it's taking a toll, and that is part of the physical recovery just from working out. Because when I go from a week of heavy lifting, like on Monday, awesome. Tuesday, awesome. Wednesday, I'm like, all right, I got this. By Thursday evening, I am dragging ass. And I guess that's part of being 40. I don't know now. But I mean, I am dragging. And so I'll be like, you know what? Next week's going to be a little bit lighter, maybe a little more running and less heavy weights. But man, when I go heavy, it hits me. And when you've gone for however long to all of a sudden lifting weights, like you said, you hit 150 for sets of 8 or something. That's a big jump.
Yeah, I've never done that before. I did last night or yesterday within 3 songs. And granted, I listened to Metallica. That was one of them, and they're a little bit on the longer side. But between 3 songs, Metallica, Korn, I'm throwing it out there, and Rob Zombie, I did 9 sets of 12 reps with 150 pounds. And I haven't done that in a long fucking time, man.
You did 9 sets of 12?
Yeah, I fucking did it, dude. I was just in a mood, and I did it. Yep.
Damn. Yes, that's a lot of volume.
These titties are going, dude. Fuck them.
Oh man.
No, thank you, Ellie. Yes, you're right. a lot of physical changes, and they are going to pop up.
Yeah.
And I am responding differently because I can guarantee you, prior to 2 years ago, I never forgot a drink.
Yeah.
I might have forgot where I left it after I came to. That was the only forgetting I was doing.
Yeah. Well, so she brings up a good point there. So one of the philosophies in Vedic medicine is that, and I shouldn't say it's a philosophy of Vedic medicine. It's part of the reason why yoga is so important in Vedic medicine. But your body actually will store emotional energy in its body physically, in adhesions. So where the muscle and the fascia come together, and it's stuck. So Vedic philosophy believes that is stored energy that's stuck and needs to be released. There's some Western theory, medical theory, that supports that. And so the fact that you've gone from being fairly sedentary to working out now, you could be releasing a lot of this stored up energy. And that's why you're kind of, having a slump. But you'll push right through it, and you'll get used to it, and you'll push through it, and you'll be back to where you were. And then as you start to incorporate more movements, more different exercises, different intensities, you'll start to release more stored energy, and you'll hit it again. So it's something to just think about, because you'll come out of this in a couple of weeks, probably. If not now. I mean, they don't normally last long, but just know that in the future, if you start upping the intensity of your workouts, or you start doing different movements, all of a sudden we go from doing a lot of bench press and now we're hitting cleans and snatches. That sounded really wrong. You're going to be opening up some new energies. So just something to watch out for.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's it's Vedic and traditional Chinese medicine are very, very interesting and very powerful. Actual healing, not just symptom regulation.
Yeah, it's amazing, and the things that we know or we don't. Yeah, and awareness is playing in there, I think. Yep.
Absolutely. That's one thing that I kept telling Lindsay over and over and over. I said, look, what you got to understand is the fact that you're now aware of something. Putting one drop of awareness into a bucket of water changes the water. You now can never not be aware again. So awareness is huge. That's why we always say, is like, what's the first step in quitting drinking? Is being aware you have a problem, right? So awareness of anything is, that was the original forbidden fruit, knowledge of good and evil, the awareness that it exists.
Yeah, thanks for that one, big fella. Awareness and intent, man. I think those are two very important things.
Keys, man. Keys. That's
Yep.
right. That's keys. So. I'm gonna tell you what. There's lots of it's a grab bag of stuff most of the time. We throw some fall protection in and make it really interesting.
Hey, yeah, we should talk about safety too. Yeah, I mean, we both have a little bit of experience in that.
So
you have a lot of it.
Here's something funny. So while I was waiting on my friend to show up at dinner, actually I'm sitting on. So I'm babysitting my one of my goddaughters, which is a 2010 BMW R1200. Yeah. So a friend of mine is out of town for a month. He's like, hey, I need you to make sure that the battery stays fresh on the bike. I'm like, I gotcha. So I'm sitting there like waiting on her to show up. My phone rings. It's been a long time. Like I don't have any of my gear anymore. So I like take my helmet off, set it down, pull my phone out of my pocket. It's my daughter. She just got picked up by her mom. They were out doing something. And she goes, Daddy, you know that place they're building over, blah, blah, blah. It's supposed to be a meat market. So we've got a kind of like a bougie butcher shop, grocery store going up. And she goes, there were guys up on the roof, and guess what? I said, what? I already knew it was coming. She goes, they didn't have any fall protection.
That is awesome.
I said, how did you know that? She goes, well, they didn't have any harnesses on, and there were no temporary guardrails.
Oh my God, dude. She went to the top guardrails too, huh?
Yeah, I was like, well, that's very, very observant of you. And of course, her mom's in the background. We don't have the greatest relationship, but she was like, I was impressed. We drove by and she was kind of in a bad mood. And she said, it's a good thing Daddy's not here because he'd be all over them.
That's great.
And she's like, why? She's like, they don't have any fall protection.
Wow. Well, the next OSHA, what am I? OSHA agent? What are they? OSHA
Coach,
rep? A rep? So you should start every episode with a safety moment. Well, how about we end this one with a safety moment?
Don't be a fool.
But yeah, but I guess I don't know if Lonnie means like a safety tip,
I think it's
or like oh, it means a safety tip. All right. Well, you give the safety tip, and I'll give the safety don't.
So I'll safety tip for the weekend. This is what they used to always tell us at in the Redcoats in the Georgia Marching Band. It's like, all right, have a safe and unreproductive weekend.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Unless you want to be reproductive. So,
well, yeah. I mean, I can never be reproductive again, so I can do whatever the hell I want. Snippy snip. So, I guess maybe this isn't as funny if you're not in the safety crowd or whatever, but I remember I was working a shutdown one time inside of one of the semiconductors nearby, and we had some scaffolding up and had a bunch of guys working on the scaffolding, and I saw the red hats. The red hats were the big wigs of safety coming doing a walkthrough. And I just walked through this job site, and so I was like, hey, I just wanted to let you guys know, they're going to be over here at some point. And okay. So I walk around the edge of the building, and I see the guy pull in, getting out of his truck. So I scurry back around the corner real quick. And within those 2 minutes, this dumbass is scaling the outside of the scaffolding, like the parts.
yeah,
Back then it was 6 foot. You had to be tied up 6 foot, and then it dropped down to 4 foot or whatever. But this dude is scaling up the side of the goddamn scaffolding.
Yep.
And it's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
The best one that was, the guy was working on this tank, and we had to grind off all this paint on the tank. And he was working, the control panel was right here in front of him, and he'd already got all the other stuff done. And he decided he had to get the paint behind the control panel, so he stuck the grinder back there and turned it on, and ended up clipping a bunch of the wires. Yeah. And it's like, and his favorite thing was, it's like you say. That's every sentence had to have, it's like you say. Well, it's like you say. This is what he would say. It's like you say, you go like fuck, and you go like dog fuck, and try to get the job done, and this and that, and it's like you say. I just put it back there, and I'm like, so you didn't think about you're putting this power tool back in somewhere, and you can't see where your hands are. That didn't ring a bell,
right?
Well, it's like you say. Yeah. Well, it's like you say. You're fired.
Yeah. The cool thing about what I get to do is I'm not, obviously, hopefully it comes across that I am not a dick by nature. I don't just come up and harass people. But when I find problems that like legitimately need to be addressed right now, it's like, hey, who's in charge of the scaffold over here? Hey, that's me. It's like, cool. Let's talk about this for a second. And when I bring them in, I was like, I legitimately have a conversation and try to work through, that, hey, tell me what you're thinking. Sometimes, like, hey, do you see anything wrong with this? But when somebody comes over, they're like, you can already tell they got a chip on their shoulders, like safety guys calling me over here for scaffolding. I know exactly how to set up scaffolding, blah, blah, blah. I've been doing this for 30 years. It's like, okay. Comes over, he's like, it's got a green tag on it. I'm like, oh, it's cool, man. You got a green tag. That's awesome. I'm glad you inspected it. He's like, well, what's the problem? I was like, did you actually inspect it this morning, or did you just pencil whip it and sign it? He goes, I inspected it. I was like, I was really hoping you were going to tell me that you just pencil whipped it, because then we could fix this really fast. It's like, but you're telling me you inspected it. Yeah. I said, so you're the competent person for inspecting the scaffolding. I am. I said, all right. Call up the superintendent of the job. I was like, you need to get a new crew to come and do your scaffolding, blah, blah, blah. Why is that? It's like, well, your competent person just inspected the scaffolding and green tagged it as safe to use it on. But I'm counting 3 cross members that aren't actually attached. It's not on mud sills, and there's no gate on the 5th level. You know, of course, the guy who was the competent person's like, whoops. You know, because I don't work for the contractor. So, you know, I'm just out there in a white blank hard hat and a blank safety vest, or, you know, blank high vis vest. So they don't really know who I am. So it's like, damn it. So I was like, hey, you should just tell me the truth that you didn't actually inspect it. We could have fixed all this, but you admitted it, that you're in charge of it. And
It's embarrassing, isn't it, for them? You know what I mean? Like, I've been doing this for 30 years. That's great, because the regulations changed 20 years ago, then they changed again 15 years ago, and then they changed again 5 years ago. So clearly, you haven't been paying attention.
Exactly. So, moral of the story: tell the truth.
Yes, always do your best to tell the truth.
Yep. So,
all right. Well,
this is fun.
What's that?
So this has been fun.
Yeah, this is fun. We need to do it more often. I need to get my head on my ass. But let's talk flat Earth maybe on Sunday or something.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I've got nothing. Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. Going somewhere else.
All right, so it'll be our tinfoil 2.0. We might not wear the hats this time. Tinfoil is expensive. Thanks, government. Inflation. So I should have saved my other hat, because I should have been smarter with my tinfoil.
Yeah, recycle, reduce, reuse, recycle.
Hey, maybe if I grill tomorrow night, maybe I'll just save the greasy shit and put it on my head, because that's
My great grandma used to do that all the time.
It's true. Mine too.
She went through a phase where she was trying to save like saran wrap, like cling wrap film.
Oh my gosh, that's impressive.
You know, but I guess if you're born in 1890 whatever and lived through the 20s, you try to do all that stuff. So
Okay, so thank you, Ellie. It was great having you back. It was great being back. As hot as the tinfoil hats were, Lonnie, I don't think that I'm gonna go saran wrap.
Yeah. I don't think so either.
Appreciate the suggestion, though, my friend, but it was a little toasty in that last one.
Oh.
So. All right, my friend. Well, thanks for joining, and thanks for listening. We had upwards of 45 people, so pretty badass for such a long vacation.
Yeah.
So plan on seeing us on Sunday, and we're going to talk flat Earth.
That'll be fun.
All right. Well, good night, everybody.
Good night.